I like the speed of sound.
Yeah, the speed of sound through water.
It's too lead.
Sit for a second. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order for August 28, 2023. For the record, all members of council are either here in person or via Zoom, and all members of staff listed are present and accounted for as well. Anybody who wished to speak, there's a sign-up sheet up on the podium here if you wish to make comments to the council. Failing that, I will probably not call on your name. So if you wish to be called individually, you should have your name on that list. Do we have someone here this evening? Oh, I'd also like to recognize the presence of County Commissioner Levon Lindy. So welcome, sir. Thank you for being here. Do we have somebody present to do the invocation this evening? County Commissioner Levon Lindy. All right, I ask that you please stand and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Gracious Father in heaven, beginning of the city council meeting, we wish to give thanks for all the blessings that we received. We're grateful for life, we're grateful for health, we're grateful for our families, we're grateful for our community. We ask a blessing on the members and staff of the city and city council as they deliberate and make decisions, that they will be blessed with wisdom, and that the decisions they make will be for the betterment of our community. And we will ask this all in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. First item on our agenda this evening is public comment. Citizens are advised that they must limit their remarks to the council to 3 minutes. Council may refer items to staff to review and or research for presentation at a future council meeting. I see no names on the list. No hands up in the air wishing to be called. Going once, twice. Next item on the agenda, consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of the following. Minutes, approve the minutes of the August 14, 2023 regular meeting. Payroll vouchers, approve payroll vouchers numbered 119352 through 119366. And wire transfers as listed for $690,916.27 for the period ending August 10, 2023. Claim vouchers, approve claim voucher numbers 107155 through 107200. And wire transfers as listed for $311,846.95 for the period ending on August 8, 2023. And approve claim voucher, excuse me, claim voucher numbers 107201 through 107263 and wire transfers as listed for $265,563.41 for the period ending on August 16, 2023. Council, I was advised of one change that or correction that needs to be made to the minutes of our August 14 meeting, and that is that Mr. Brewer had emailed me asking for an excused absence. Unfortunately, my computer was with IT, and so I hadn't seen the email, so we would like to correct that and grant him an excused absence for that meeting. Is there any objection to that? No objection. All right, that will be changed. Any other items that council would like to change or remove from the consent agenda for discussion? Hearing none, what is the desire of the council on this item?
Move to approve.
Motion by Councillor Beeler, second by Councillor Hicks to approve the consent agenda. Debate on this item? Hearing none. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. I also vote aye. The motion passes. Active agenda. Item A, facilities maintenance custodian and animal control officer positions. Consider approving the addition of 2 facilities maintenance custodians and 1 animal control officer to the classification and compensation schedule for 2023. Madam City Manager.
And I will turn this over to Ms. Warner.
Yes, Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As we discussed at our budget retreat over this last weekend, which was great. Thank you for coming. We are in a position where we have to add a couple of positions based on the actions of things that are outside of our control. The Yakima County Humane Society is no longer going to be providing animal control services for any cities up and down the valley. And so if we would like to continue animal control we do have to add a staff member or find another vendor. And right now there are no other vendors. So our option is to add a staff member. We're hoping that because this same issue affects other local cities, that we may be able to share some of the costs of this staff member, perhaps with Grandview or somebody else. At this point, we don't know that for sure. So this does have a small budget amendment amount with it, just in the amount of $10,000, just in case we don't have an agreement in place before the end of the year. We hope to have that offset with an agreement, however. And then the other two positions are for custodians for city facilities. We did have to terminate the contract with our janitorial services earlier this year. And at this time, the city thinks it's in our best interest to have our own staff handle these issues. We did attach the job descriptions for your review, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions for Ms. Horner? Mr. Farmer.
I have some. Since we're going to start being animal control, what are we going to do about housing the animals?
Actually, if you would mind, I can answer that.
Okay.
Chief Lehman actually came to me today and has already met with Grandview twice to discuss this. They are on board and ready to assist. They have an older kennel in Grandview that is down by the shooting range that they said we could clean up and use. And we have 2 temporary shelters over here behind the police department. We know it's going to be a struggle putting animals in there because right now Humane Society is only taking sick or dangerous dogs. They're completely full. So we will have to find a long-term solution or maybe partner with another agency that can do adoptions. So,
Okay.
but it's a big problem in our city and it's a big problem in the valley. But I think we're going to tackle it the best we can. We don't want to be without animal control at all. So, and Jameson has 1 in here. I have a feeling we'll probably need to hire all 3 that the Humane Society currently have. But we'll wait and see how October 1st goes.
And then if I understand what you're saying though, so if we pick up a sick or a dangerous animal, we can take it to Yakima?
Correct.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, they did tell us that they would maintain a small amount of spaces at the Humane Society for sick, injured, or dangerous animals. So we should be able to get those in, but just those ones.
Other questions?
Who would this person be answering to? Would it be the police department? Or
Police department, correct.
Police department.
Other questions? So would this animal control officer also handle dogs that bark all night long at an empty house if the owners have gone, that sort of thing, those kind of complaints, or no?
Probably not in the very beginning. I would imagine once we have established the stray problem, then we probably could address that some way. I'll let Chief answer that.
Officers should be responding to those calls after hours. Otherwise, it's going to sit until animal control comes in at 8 a.m. So officers should be responding. That's just a quality of life issue that we should be handling. So.
Okay. Mr. Hicks.
Are they gonna have, other than weekends off? Because that's usually when you see 90% of the problem is the weekends.
Well, this is new, so their schedule will be, I mean, we can make it what we want to make it, but it's just going to depend. But if we hire 3, yeah, we'll probably have weekend coverage. You hire 1, maybe we can give them Sunday, Monday off or something, but.
If you get 3, just do 4 10s.
Yeah, well, if we get 3, but I don't know if you're going to want to pay for 3. And we're gonna have to contract in other cities to pay for those 3, so it's gonna depend on what their needs are too. So I know that Wapato chief called me this morning. I'm expecting a call from the Toppenish chief any day, and Grandview's contacted me twice already, so.
Okay, so some sort of interlocal agreement is probably something that we can feel fairly comfortable with. Because it sounds like Grandview at least is very interested in.
And since the Humane Society was stopping services for the entire valley, we were pretty confident with that, but not having those agreements in hand is why we just requested the budget amendment just to be safe.
And then going to the custodial situation. What are we going to do for equipment? I know when we had previously had a city employee be the custodian, he had a car. and a whole bunch of other stuff. Is this is stuff that we're gonna have to furnish another custodian to do the work?
Most of our facilities have stuff already in them. And if they don't, we'll just purchase whatever we need. And then as far as a vehicle goes, this person will likely work in the evenings. There's lots of cars that are sitting while we're, off. So we can figure something out.
Okay.
And I would say, from my perspective, it's a lot cheaper to provide the equipment necessary for each individual building than it is to purchase a vehicle for a custodian to run around town in. So
Mhm. And we've been having to clean our own offices and our own facilities right now, so we've had to purchase some stuff anyway, so we all know where the garbage cans go and
Who's gonna clean the kennels?
probably animal control. That's usually a part of their job.
further questions? Mr. Deputy Mayor, have you any questions?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Mayor, but I'm willing to make a motion.
Very well, and you may make the motion, sir.
Okay, I move that we approve the addition of 2 facilities maintenance custodians and 1 animal control officer to the classification and compensation schedule for 2023.
And I will second that.
Very good, thank you. So a motion by Deputy Mayor Restucci, second by Councilor Bueller. And Mr. Restucci read the motion into the record already. Is there a debate on this item?
No debate, Mr. Mayor, but I want to inform council that I've spoken to the executive director of the YV cog. As this issue is not going to just affect our city, it's going to affect every city in the valley and the county, including Yakima. I've asked this to be placed on the agenda for the mayor's meeting, upcoming mayor's meeting as well, so we can have a discussion. This is something that's going to affect us all. I think this is a stopgap measure, and I appreciate what the city and the staff are trying to do, but ultimately, this is not a solution.
I agree with you, sir. However, if we don't do something, it is going to get to be an even bigger problem very quickly. So we do have to put into effect this stopgap motion, I think.
I would agree with you, sir.
Further debate? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion as read, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. I also vote aye, the motion carries. Item B, Teamsters Division Supervisors Collective Bargaining Agreement. Consider approving a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Teamsters Local 760 for a contract for division supervisors for 2023 through 2025. Madam City Manager.
Again, I'll turn this over to Ms. Horner.
Ms. Horner.
Thank you. We have been in negotiations with the Teamsters regarding the supervisor's contract for quite some time. It's a complicated contract to negotiate because of the varied supervisory positions that are all in one unit. We did finally come to an agreement, which we're happy with. The agreement includes a 4% cost of living adjustment and some parity adjustments to certain jobs. And then, so 4% for 2023, 5% for 2024, and 4% for 2025. And the cost for the retro on this back to January 1, which is when the previous contract expired, is about $52,000 that we'll be adding to the budget.
Okay, questions for Ms. Horner?
You said 4, 5, and 5?
4,
4, 5, and 4. What was the COLA for everyone else?
we had 2 police units that's the police support and the police guild. They were 4.5, I think, for all of the years of those. And that's the only other 2 that we have settled going into next year. So they're 4.5, I think.
Other questions? So as we go into further contract negotiation, we can expect to see these kinds of 4.5, 5% cost of living increases as we go across the board.
Well, we actually kind of have been dealing with 2 problems this year. As you'll recall, it was a point of ours to try and bring parity to some of the positions that have been underpaid. And so in some situations that has increased what we would normally provide for cost of living. So based on what like consumer price index is right now and inflation, I don't think that we'll need to continue to negotiate quite so high. But it really depends on what happens with the market.
Well, we did have a couple of tough years with the cost of living going up, and so I'm not surprised to see those numbers. I was interested to see how it goes up the one for 5 and then the next for 4, but
Yeah. Instead of giving all 3 5s, we have to take the 4s when we can get them.
that's right. We do have to consider the city budget as well. All right, further questions for Ms. Warner?
Do we have any other contracts being negotiated at this point for the rest of 23?
This finishes out any contract for the rest of 2023, but in 2024, we have the Teamsters Clerical Unit, the Teamsters Public Works Unit, and the Firefighters, International Association of Firefighters, that will all 3 be up. So we're starting to reach out and open those negotiations here in the next couple of months.
All right, if there's no further questions, what is the desire of council on this item?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, motion by Counselor Beeler, second by Counselor Ripley to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Teamsters Local 760 for a contract for the division supervisors for 2023 through 2025. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none, all in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And also vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks for your hard work, Jameson.
Classification and compensation schedule update. Consider adopting an ordinance updating the 2023 classification and compensation schedule. Madam City Manager.
I will turn this over to Acting Fire Chief Cameron Cook.
Chief.
No, not this.
No,
I'll take it.
okay.
Ms. Horner.
Appreciate it.
Corner.
The look of panic on the chief's face was enough to tell me something wasn't quite right.
I'm on the next agenda item. Sorry, guys. I'm one ahead.
This is just an update to the official classification and compensation schedule for the city for the year of 2023, based on those changes that we've just made and the previous police support contract that was passed. We hadn't updated it since then, so this encompasses all those changes.
So are there any questions, council, for Ms. Horner? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to adopt the ordinance updating the 2023 classification and compensation schedule.
One second.
Motion by Counselor Bueller, second by Counselor Hicks to approve the motion as read. Debate on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I also vote aye. Motion again passes. Thank you. All right, now we will catch up to Ms. Alva, new fire engine purchase. Consider authorizing the city manager to purchase and accept financing for the purchase of a new fire engine. Ms. Alva.
Now we'll turn this over to Acting Fire Chief.
All right, Chief.
I'm ready now. So what we're requesting is like I said, a purchase of a new first out fire engine. And so right now we are currently operating with, in essence, one in-service pumper. This was an engine that was purchased used in 2020 as we'll call it a Band-Aid or a temporary fix for our immediate issue, which in this case, it is a 2012 transport capable pumper that we purchased with EMS funds as a certified aid vehicle. What we are requesting again is a replacement for a more appropriate first out apparatus. And so what that looks like is an improved water tank capacity. So that's going from the current 500-gallon tank we have in the existing pumper to 1,000-gallon tank would be in the one that we've spec'd out at this point. That allows for us for what we call a quicker initial attack, as well as and if we have to go into really rescue operations, that alleviates the time it takes for us to hook up to a hydrant and go that route. In addition, it is an upgraded pump. We're looking at a 1,750 gallon per minute pump. In essence, what that means is we get to move more water. The apparatus is set up for more of in-town routes, I guess. So it's not nearly as long, not nearly as tall. It's going to be a lot more feasible in our tighter areas, especially in our residential areas as well. And so we are are looking to do that. In addition, we currently do not have a suitable second out or reserve apparatus at this time. We currently house a 1998 American LaFrance pumper purchased new back in 1998, which we have not been able to get to pass pump tests in about 3 years. Therefore, we don't really get any credit for it in our survey and ratings. We also co-own a pumper with Yakima County Fire District 5, which is actually housed in their portion of the station. But it is coming upon its years of life as it is a 2004. But again, that's a shared pumper, so we don't get necessarily 100% access to it. So in essence, this would be the first new pumper that the city of Sunnyside has purchased since 1998. So unfortunately, costs have skyrocketed for the manufacturer of these pumpers. And so, which is why we're looking at the financing option route. One thing I do just want to make note is with the option that we've chosen to go with and the vendor we've chosen to, or are attempting to go with is, we actually have a anticipated delivery of January 28th of 2024, which is absolutely unheard of. Build times right now on pumpers are in the 24-month mark. So we're able to get in on what start out as a demo build, which is what it's allowing for such a quick delivery time. So I'm able to answer any questions. I know it's a lot of information, but
Council, questions?
We have the funds to purchase this outright. Are we going to lease it? Or
so if I don't mind, can I defer to Eugene on this, please?
We actually are going to fund this through a local loan through the Washington State Treasurer's Office. They offer pretty low interest rate loans, like less than 3% for small cities like us. We do have the money in the general fund technically, but it would take us below that threshold that I like to keep us at for liquidity. So I think it's a better option to go ahead and take financing for it.
now this would be, I know the ladder truck is still being financed. I think it is.
It was financed through the bonds for the fire station. So yes, it's still being financed.
That'll be the only two vehicles that we're on the hook for as far as financing.
Yes, we do have the lease
Right.
program. So we have a couple of vehicles through US Bank on the lease program. And then we went to that, enterprise fleet management. So they're technically not on loans, but they're sort of financed.
And I would just like to add too, just for kind of the life expectancy of the pumpers, we're typically seeing between 15 and 20 years as a frontline pumper. And then we can still continue to get credit for that apparatus as long as it's passing its appropriate testing for another 5 to 10 years after that. Our American LaFrance that is just recently been having some significant issues. We did have as a frontline pumper for just shy of 23 years.
And do we have enough storage inside the firehouse?
Yes, sir, we do. We're going to have to play a little fire truck Tetris, but we're definitely we do have the space for it. Yes.
Are we giving up a fire truck? Or are we going to use the second one as the backup?
So the current first out would be retained as a reserve. So we would get full credit as a first out and as a second. As far as for the 98 American LaFrance I'd mentioned, we'll look at options with that. Unfortunately, used fire trucks really aren't worth a whole lot. So we'd look at that as either an option for a training apparatus or some other use. It really wouldn't be worth selling. They're worth between 5,000 and 10,000 at the most. So
That's all I have.
Further questions?
Can you tell me what? You said the pump did not pass tests. There are several tests that pump goes through. Can you tell me what
so
it failed on?
This one that failed the worst per se was the vacuum test.
The vacuum test.
Yes, sir.
And we did not have any diagnosis done as to, because it could be so minor and it could be very major also.
Correct. So we did have some diagnostics ran on it, and pretty much what the vendor explained to us, and I could provide the documentation, but to make it to be where it should, to continue to pass tests to the levels it should, we're looking about just shy of $30,000 for a pump rebuild on it. And again, the apparatus is worth about 10. Especially with its age, we no longer get full credit for it anyways for survey and ratings due to its age.
Okay.
Further questions?
Oh,
Go ahead, Mr.
I do
Miller.
have one more.
Yes, sir.
ARPA. Is there any reason why we can't use ARPA money for this instead of having to go out and borrow more money?
That could be a possibility. We would have to reallocate our current allocations and take a lot of stuff away from everybody else. Kind of, because really the way we divided it up, we put the ARPA money into infrastructure for police, and we also have some stuff that's going to the fire department, and we're also doing heavy in recreation and parks. So I wouldn't want to see us pull away some of those one-time things that we're going to be able to fund.
All right, well, I want to thank you, council, because you all asked the questions that I had in my mind, so I don't have to ask any questions, so. Although I am curious, you're going to put a pump on that new build that will empty the tank in about 30 seconds.
A minute and a half.
You said 1,700 gallons per minute, correct? And 1,000-gallon tank?
So that's with so that's with a given hose and that's what we call an ideal. To be honest, you'll never get it to pump at that.
I was just really impressed with those numbers because I work with pumps all the time and it's wow. All right. If there's no further questions, what is the desire of council on this item?
I'll move to approve.
Second it.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Ripley to authorize the city manager to purchase and accept financing for the purchase of a new fire engine. Debate on this item. Hearing none, all in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. I also vote aye. Motion carries. I'm excited by the build time on this. I don't think I've ever heard of a city spec build this fast. So.
Can you order us a pumper or a vacuum truck?
I'll see if I can make a few calls.
You've got some connection somewhere, chief. Item E. Exposing minor child to domestic violence, new ordinance. Consider adopting an ordinance adding a new chapter entitled miscellaneous crimes to the Sunnyside Municipal Code, making it a crime to expose a minor child to domestic violence and institutes a program that notifies the schools when a child is subjected to this abuse in the home. Madam City Manager.
Chief Lehman.
Chief.
Counselors, so the school portion of this is something that we already do, and it's recently gone countywide. So if there's a domestic incident in a home or any kind of police response to a home, the school's notified and those kids are able to be contacted so that we can hopefully break the cycle. This is one other tool for the police department in combating violence in the home. And some of the things that are long-term behavioral issues with children who are exposed to violence in the home or anxiety, post-traumatic stress, physical ailments, and proclivity towards aggressive behavior. This has gone by the city attorney, and there are other cities using the same ordinance, and we're asking for this to be enacted and added to city code. There has to be a domestic violence committed in front of the child, or that the child has to believe is being committed. So maybe if the kid's in the bedroom and hears mom get thrown against the wall or dad or whatever. But if it's determined that no domestic violence by RCW has been committed, then this would not apply. So this is like a secondary charge. If there's any questions, I can answer.
Council, questions for the chief?
What would the charge for the parents be?
So the charge is exposing minor child to domestic violence. It's a gross misdemeanor if it's added.
Gross
Yes, yes.
Then do we offer anything for the child?
So that's where the school is already notified currently, and this is a countywide issue. So if a child lives in Sunnyside and goes to school in Grandview, we'll say, all schools are notified every morning with a report out of our computer system if a child is involved in some type of incident. So it could be a DUI that dad gets at 2 a.m. and the kids happen to be in the car. The school will be notified and the counselor can reach out to him the next day. So that's already happening. That's just one of the tools we're using. I'm asking for a second tool for the officers to use.
Further questions? Okay, so from my perspective, this one's a no-brainer. We need to do everything we can to protect these kids. And as the chief mentioned, break the cycle. So many times this domestic violence is a cycle. It's generational. It goes on and on and on. If we don't do something to help break these cycles, then really how can we call ourselves city leaders? And in my mind, I think that our kids are more valuable than just letting it go on forever and ever. So for me, it's a no-brainer. But that's me. Further questions or comments?
I think it's a great idea. I approve.
All right, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve?
Second,
All right, motion by Councillor Hicks, second by Deputy Mayor Restucci to adopt an ordinance adding a new chapter entitled Miscellaneous Crimes to the Sunnyside Municipal Code, making it a crime to expose a minor child to domestic violence and institute a program that notifies the schools when a child is subjected to this abuse in the home. Debate on this item.
Just want to thank the chief for bringing this in.
Yes, sir. All right, hearing no debate. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, no. I also vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, SWAT interlocal agreement. Receive information regarding a SWAT interlocal agreement. Madam City Manager.
Again, Chief Lehman.
Chief.
Okay, I called it SWAT, so everybody would know what I was talking about, but it's actually called Crew Crisis Response Unit. So Sunnyside used to have its own crisis response unit or SWAT team. In about 2014, it was disbanded due to the amount of hours it took to stay current with training. Every officer was about 16 hours a month, which was primarily done on their days off. And the cost was astronomical, not including the equipment that was needed. Since that time, we've relied on the Yakima Police Department to provide us SWAT services. Lucky for us, they've never sent us a bill, but we have not been a participant in that team either. So there's been a big push amongst the chiefs. I've met every other Thursday on this for about 4 months. What they're trying to do is create a truly regional crisis response unit that is participated in by pretty much every municipality with personnel. What the number that was agreed upon amongst the chiefs was 10% of your department, which for us would be 3 officers. We have 3 officers that have been training with them. A lot of their SWAT equipment was approved with ARPA funds. Once they're accepted on the team, we'll start to buy that equipment that they need. However, the creation of this truly regional team that's for the most part been funded by the Yakima Police Department is now going to create an interlocal agreement that will be shared funds across the jurisdictions throughout the county. So I've included for you to review what the cost breakdown is on and then also a sample budget. So the cost breakdown on the sample budget of $350,000, Sunnyside's portion would be $22,225 annually. The only agencies that we think we have not heard 100% on are HERA and Natchez. Pretty much every other department has said they're interested. I believe that if those 2 agencies don't participate for the first year, we'll probably just reduce our budget that amount. They're pretty small agencies. We're talking about a few $1,000s. The sheriff has assured us that those agencies will probably pay one way or the other. Whether he'll up his contract with them because both of those cities contract their police services with the sheriff's office, or if they just outright participate. So the interlocal agreement has been reviewed by the city attorney and approved by him. I can answer any questions you may have, but I'm asking that we authorize the city manager to enter into this interlocal agreement, which will take effect January 1. So this will be next year's budget. The chiefs have agreed we need to try and get our councils on board early, just so if somebody doesn't participate, we know now.
Questions for the chief?
Will this group be working on our gang problems too?
I'm sorry, what's that?
We used to have a gang unit also. Will they be working on stuff like that also, or?
No, this will strictly be for
Crisis response?
this will be for some hostage situation or somebody's in the house we believe is armed and refusing to come out, things like that. We actually used the SWAT team a month ago down here, and $22,000 is a bargain. I know one year we used them 3 times, and probably if they billed us just for their overtime, not including equipment, we'd probably be looking at 20 grand.
well, I know using SWAT is much safer for the public and much safer for your officers.
Correct. Thank you.
Further questions? Hearing none, what's the desire of council on this item? Oh,
I move to,
I'm sorry, this one here is just to receive information. Got ahead of myself. Sorry, council. All right, any more questions or comments about this? Something worth thinking about. I think the comments that you council has made are very valid, safer for the community, safer for the neighboring homes. These guys are specially trained. I'd say better, these officers are specially trained to handle these types of situations. And I think that's, generally speaking, a very good idea. Item G is also information, regional dispatch. Madam City Manager.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Risucci, yes.
I'm sorry, sir. I tried to get you before you moved on. Real quickly, just so that council is aware, this discussion about a regional SWAT team has been discussed at the YV Exec Committee. It is something that we are looking at. And I just wanted council to be aware that the COG is involved in these discussions as well.
You sure? That's good to know. All right, regional dispatch, Madam City Manager.
And I will refer to Chief Lehman.
Chief.
Okay, regional dispatch. Dispatchers are harder and harder to come by. It's a tough job where you're sitting in a dark room 24 hours a day, oftentimes 10, 12 hours at a time. And every dispatch center in the county is struggling with finding dispatchers. Some of them are down to, 60% staffing, which just accumulates over time. Right now, we're down 3 positions and we're having a hard time finding qualified applicants that can make it through the training and everything. So we've met with the sheriff's office and Grandview Police Department regarding a regional dispatch center. I've included a roadmap, and the second page of that is probably the best thing to look at. Yakima County is probably, as far as I know, probably the only county in Washington state that doesn't have a regional dispatch center, where multiple agencies are dispatched out of the same facility, including 911, police, fire, and everything like that. Yakima County, the only difference is there's 2 private ambulance companies. Doesn't affect us because our fire department has paramedics, but we are the only fire department with paramedics. So they'll maintain their dispatch centers as a private entity up somewhere else, but this would be for all police and fire services in Yakima County. There's been 2 studies done, both studies over the years, one I think in the 90s and one in the 2005, have recommended a regional dispatch center, and it's never moved anywhere. Right now, and Deputy Mayor might be able to speak more to this, but the county is looking at a 0.1% sales tax to fund radios throughout the county. If that gets approved, that would be a good time to do this. It will upgrade all dispatch consoles, all police vehicles, and I believe fire vehicles countywide. It would be the right time to do it. Now you can sit in Sunnyside and dispatch for Florida. I mean, really, because everything's over the internet now. So the plan here, from what we've talked about with the sheriff's office and with the Grandview, would be to have 2 dispatch centers, because typically you have a PSAP, public safety answering point, and you have a second facility in case one goes down for some reason. The talk has been one in Yakima, one probably down here in Sunnyside because of the size of our city. You could draw more for employees. You could have an employee that lives in Grandview, reports to work in Sunnyside, but is dispatching for units in Yakima because everything's done over the internet. If something happened to the Yakima facility, it could be operated with a skeleton crew in Sunnyside for 20, 30 minutes until that staff got down here and could take over the radios down here. So I just wanted to bring this to everybody, let you know that it's something that's being talked about. You'll probably see more on it in the near future. I know it's been talked about several times, but really, this is where we need to go. It's been way too long. Most agencies went to regional dispatch centers 20 plus years ago, and Yakima County's just been behind the times. So.
Council, questions for the chief?
Oh, well, I'm personally in favor of it. It's a thing that we need to do. It saves time, it saves money, it's probably more efficient. It's just a no-brainer not to be involved in it.
Further comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Farmer, you said it well. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? I'm going to agree with my colleagues as well. I have been a long proponent and big fan of regional working together. I don't think we all need to continue to reinvent the wheel and have a different version of the wheel in each different municipality. We can work together as a county and probably accomplish a lot more by doing that. I know the temptation has always been in Yakima County to be those rugged individuals, but I think we're going to be a lot more effective if we get, just like with the crisis response unit, we're talking about working together. This one also, for me, it just makes sense. So thank you for the work that you're doing on that. We look forward to hearing continuing information on that, sir. The next item, item H, establishing a City of Sunnyside revolving loan fund. Consider approving a resolution establishing a revolving loan fund. Madam City Manager.
And I'll turn this over to Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Good evening, City Council. Tonight I have before you is a resolution. I've mentioned this in the past a couple times, beginning of the year. Our Community and Economic Development Commission has been working since the beginning of 2023 to explore different ideas with ARPA funding. And one of those ideas that came up and we kind of took off with it was to establish, we recognize that we're not going to probably get this opportunity again in the future, and why not go for it? But to establish a revolving loan fund, a really low interest rate revolving loan fund where the city can kind of play a role in encouraging economic development throughout the city. So the Community and Economic Development Commission put together a list of criteria on what they want to do. I kind of handed out a piece of paper to you on what we're going to require, what the Community and Economic Development Commission is going to review, the interest rates, the amount of money that they can request up to, and then what we plan to do with money from the interest in the future. So the idea would be to kind of fill any sort of gaps where a business might have in their funding sources to help fill any sort of gaps that might exist in their funding sources. It takes into account, amount of credit established, collateral, years in business. We look at existing debts, tax returns, all that other stuff. We're looking at that before we agree to do any sort of investment in this in anybody who applies. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Council, questions for Mr. Martin?
How is what is the process to review and recommend and fund these loans?
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to have, there's going to be either paper or online applications that we're going to have available. The applicant is going to have to put together a business plan with existing financial statements, collateral statements. They're going to also come up with more or less what they want for payments. And then once we have that entire packet put together from them, we will sit down with the applicant. It'll be at one of our Community and Economic Development Commission meetings. We'll review it in a public in a public setting. I guess, of course, confidential information will stay confidential. But they'll go through the application. They'll look at what they're requesting, and the Community and Economic Development Commission. I trust them. There are several insurance agents and real estate agents and people with backgrounds in financial expertise on the Community and Economic Development Commission. They'll go through the application. They'll make sure that everything is in place before we approve any sort of funding for them, and then they will recommend approval and release of those funds for that business.
Well, the committee will recommend to the council to approve the loan, and then the council approves the loan?
So it would be a committee recommendation. It would be run and operated by the Community and Economic Development Commission. we can set it up so that they come through council. I'm happy to do that. If that's the way we want to proceed.
I trust the people who are on that committee wholeheartedly, but that's part of our responsibility as council members is anything with fiduciary ties. And so I would think that it would need to come to the council just by law.
Other questions or comments?
Going to start off with the 250. Do you plan on growing this and making it stronger, or?
If we're doing well, yeah, if we have a high interest in this, then yeah, we could take some of the interest that we gained and help grow the program. The idea would be to hopefully use that interest to fund grants in the future for, small business improvement like facade programs or installing a wheelchair ramp or something like that. That would be the idea, but yeah, if there's lots of interest, sure, I think that'd be.
And what about somebody that tries this and fails and ends up going bankrupt? How's that going to affect us?
Right, yes, so that would be written into any sort of contract. We've discussed that at pretty great length. Yes, that would be written into any sort of contract on how to exactly deal with that. We do have an item in there for collateral. We do have an item in there for financial records and remedying that sort of situation. Yeah.
Just the questions I've asked, you've taken care of everything.
Yeah. We've kind of gone through it. We've filled out examples. We've asked these questions, and we've also discussed the idea of late payments as well. We don't necessarily want to penalize at great length anybody who might be like a month late. We would rather work with them and have them be able to continue repayments in the future, and setting up either amending their existing contracts or setting up some sort of additional payment mechanism. Yeah.
Now, what about, because starting a business is hard, believe me, I know, and a lot of people know. How are you going to help them learn how to do it?
Yes.
Do you have that covered?
Yeah, so that's actually another thing that we have talked about too, and we're going to because we have an insurance agent. We do have somebody that helps prepare taxes and helps people apply for business licenses and works with them on finances. We have been talking about setting up some small business seminars. I think we're going to target certain areas of the city and do that. I think that's going to kind of come online next after we have this established, saying, hey, this is how you do this. This is how you go into the Department of Revenue system. It's how you apply for your business license. And if you need any sort of, if you're looking at any sort of funding opportunities, the city does have a funding opportunity that we can work with you on. Yeah. So yes, we have thought about that. Yeah. And then be coming pretty soon, probably this winter.
Further questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Farmer is exactly correct. SMC 2.50 is actually titled Citizen Advisory Boards and Commissions. The council is the appellate for all of those boards and commissions. I cannot see any way that we could allow a citizen board or commission the ability to expend taxpayer dollars. It has to come back to the council. I'll defer to legal on this, but I believe Mr. Farmer is correct.
So technically, as far as the approval of funds to a citizen group or an individual citizen for loans, it would have to be the city council approving that for the actual funds to be dispersed. The recommendation to give the loans, though, can be done through a citizen group.
Thank you, sir. That's what I thought also.
And I would be happy to make that change. That would just be in the policies for the program. I would make that change to the policies of the program.
All right. Thank you guys for clearing that up. So Martin, thank you for your questions. They were very good questions. It's good to get those answers. I'm looking through this application. Is there a loan cap amount or? Okay, I didn't see the numbers probably right in front of my face, but what is that amount?
Let's see here. I put it on the
$50,000.
Yeah, 50,000.
Okay.
I put it on the cover sheet. Yes. So businesses that have been around for more than 5 years, and that have been established may get at least 5 years. May apply for a loan up to $50,000, where businesses under 5 years can apply for a loan up to $25,000. So there's.
All right, are there any further questions or comments for Mr. Martin?
I think it's a good idea and I would support this. Anything we can do to help somebody get a business started and make our town grow is good.
Mr. Farmer, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think this is a brilliant idea. I think that it's an opportunity for us to help the community in ways that we don't normally think about. And the fact that it is difficult to begin a business or expand a business is very true. And especially for if you've got somebody who doesn't have a lot of background information in that or a lot of education in that, we'll give them that opportunity is just fantastic. All right, what is the desire of the council on this item?
Move to approve the resolution establishing a revolving loan fund.
Full second.
Motion by Counselor Beeler, second by Counselor Hicks to approve the motion as read. Debate on this item?
It's also good for the city.
It's a quality of life question as well. So there's a lot of good sides to it. All right, all in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I also vote aye. Motion passes. Item I, One Energy Memorandum of Understanding. Consider approving a resolution to terminate the option agreement with One Energy. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is actually one I'm reporting out on, and very happy to bring forward a memorandum of understanding with One Energy, terminating their 5-year option agreement on the Munson property. At one point, we had nothing going on there, and it was kind of brought to council, something is better than nothing. So this option agreement was entered into, and we actually have the property up for sale and have a potential buyer, and they do not want that solar on the property. So this MOU simply says that the city will help One Energy get the required railroad crossing and SVID easements. And it doesn't bind us into anything. It just says, yes, we agree to help you, is what it is.
They're moving just across the highway, right?
Correct. They've leased the land across the highway.
Which is the easy part. Railroad tracks is the hard part.
Yeah.
6th Street still down.
Okay, further questions for manager?
Have we talked to the railroad to see if that's feasible?
Well, so we don't want to talk to the railroad until we know we have something in place. You'd want to wait with them until you're really sure of what you're doing, because they are very hard to work with. That's why 6th Street's not finished.
I had the interesting opportunity one time to talk with some railroad personnel who happened to cross my path. And I had this vision in my mind at the time that our city truck route from north to south would become South Lester Road from Yakima Valley Highway. And he instructed me on how unwilling and how difficult it would be with the railroad to put in an additional crossing. And so they can take their time. And if you want to know more about that, you can talk to our public works people and find out the struggle that they've gone through on 6th Street recently and still continue to be going through. So the railroad can be a challenge. And I don't know how much effect a city like Sunnyside is going to have on the railroad, but as manager said, we can try to render assistance, but that doesn't mean we're going to provide all the results, because the railroad is going to do what they're going to do. Other questions or comments? What is the desire of council on this item?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Counselor Hicks, second by Counselor Beeler to approve the resolution to terminate the option agreement with One Energy. Debate on this item. All right, all in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you. And I was on council and did vote in favor of One Energy at that time, because yes, having something going on there was better than nothing. But this new direction that this property is headed, I think is much better, so. Items from council members, mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. I have a meeting scheduled tentatively with the deputy mayor later this week to talk about some. But other than that, I haven't heard of anything. And the clerk agrees with me, so. All right, if there's openings, they will be on the website, and please take a look at those. And if anything is interesting to you, by all means, fill out the application. We would love to add people to our open spots on boards and commissions. They are interesting in many cases. Sometimes they don't have a big role for a long time, and then all of a sudden you are extremely needed. So. And Community and Economic Development Committee has one vacancy. All right, council request status report. Madam City Manager.
So on the water tower, I did actually have Chase Reef contact me. He still wants that project. He was kind of upset that we had thought we should go out to bid. He'd like to keep it local. He has some ideas. He's currently working out of town. So he said as soon as he's back in town, he wants to set up a meeting with me to discuss options. One of the things that's been brought forward is there are basically sticker companies that professionally put a sticker on, and that may be a route we go. But just to let you know, he has reached out and indicated he wants to get that project going for us. So we'll try to give our local guy a chance first. Everything else.
I do have contact with somebody that does those large vinyl stickers.
Okay.
I can put you in touch with them as well.
Thank you. And then I would like to make sure we change the Fisher to Sanchez on the assignment. We'll all get another fun one. And then really we haven't done anything else on the other two items. But we will be having a meeting tomorrow to discuss.
All right, council members, anything that you wish to add to the council request status report? You can either do that at this time, or you can talk to myself or the manager at any time. Okay, other reports, announcements, and or questions by council. And as usual, we're going to start at far end from me, Mr. Bueller.
There's a lot going on at our airport. We have our final plans to improve the airport, going to the FAA, where they pretty much give you 90% of the money to do it, and we're have to do the 10%. It hasn't gone to them yet. It's on its way over there. It's going to be presented, and then we'll bring something back when that gets approved. But it's going to be real good for the airport, and it needs some improvement.
Yes, it does, sir. So
We have the landing lights out there are still the old incandescents, and you can hardly see them, and everybody else has gone to LED, and redoing the airport and doing the lights, doing it all at once is going to really bring it into the 20th century.
well, we are in the 21st century. You realize that, right? My, how fast the years go. Lighting the gas lights, are we? All right, that's good to hear, because our airport has been in need for some time. We've done a little bit here and a little bit there, but it needs a major makeover, and getting those improvements done and getting a lot of that funded is going to be a real help for that. So appreciate that work. Mr. Hicks.
Nothing at this moment.
Okay, Ms. Ripley,
The report.
Mr. Farmer,
Nothing at this point.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
No report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, well, we're all kind of in the same boat. I know the Yakima Valley mayors met, but I all of a sudden had a major work change and was unable to attend, and was even unable to inform them that I wasn't going to be there. So I felt kind of bad about that. But yeah, we continue to carry on. This is a busy season for all of us, and a reminder to the audience, all of us council members are here part-time. We all have other jobs and other responsibilities outside of this one. So sometimes we're able to make meetings, and most of the time we do. And sometimes we get called away by work responsibilities as well. All right, upcoming council meetings. Madam City Manager.
And I will turn this over to City Clerk Renteria.
Ms. Renteria.
Okay, so we've canceled the workshop on September 5th. And then the next regular meeting is September 11th. The only thing we have on there is the swearing in of Assistant Fire Chief Chad Denbor. The next one is September 25th. LTAC funding recommendations, and that's tentative. It may switch over to following meeting, depends on what Ms. Horner says. October 2nd, we have a workshop. And it is our budget workshop, and we'll also be discussing Sunnyside Housing Authority. October 9th, we'll have a public hearing on revenue sources and property tax levy for 2024. And again, the following meetings are a lot about budget, and we'll be adding items on there as items come up.
All right, council, if anybody has an item that needs to be added to the agenda, please speak to the manager or the clerk to be able to get that information added. Do so as soon as possible so it can get on the earliest possible agenda if that's something that needs to be talked about. And we'll all get next week Tuesday off because there weren't enough items to have an agenda, and it is a holiday weekend and kind of a symbolic end of the summer. So take some time to celebrate the fact that you survived a busy summer. All right, item 5, items from department heads. Madam City Manager.
So I'm going to report first. I'll let you guys know, I put my back out this afternoon and I've been sitting here shaking and my voice is shaky. And that's the reason I'm just barely holding on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over and start here with Chief.
Thank you very much. Just a quick report from the fire department on since the last council meeting, we've responded to 181 emergency incidents, which brings our year-to-date total to 2,903 emergency responses, which is surprisingly actually about a 40 call increase from the year prior. As I've been excitedly continuing to report our training hours, we've just last update is we've put in 1,768 training hours so far this year. So pretty excited about that. And again, I just would like to thank council for the approval to purchase the new pumper. I not only is that going to allow us to provide improved service to our community, but this is a big morale booster for our staff as well. So on behalf of the entire Sunnyside Fire Department, thank you guys very much. We appreciate that.
I have no report this time unless anyone has any questions.
But you have questions for Mr. Riley? Off the hook again, sir. I may have a question for you after the meeting, so don't rush away.
Just a few things, well, 2 things. Put that out there that the city abated one of their long-term nuisance properties at 619 South 9th Street this last week. The lot is free and clear of all debris and looking pretty good. We have another one on Harrison at 1317 Harrison that there's some asbestos in the house that's going to need to be abated. So we're planning on abating that at the end of this week, and then the following week that one should be coming down. So there's that. And then I during our budget session, I kind of talked to you about CHIP. I handed you out a little information packet on it to kind of read as you know, you feel bored or maybe you're watching preseason football or something like that, just kind of pour over it. And that's all I have.
Okay. I'll give you a quick update on the public works projects that we have going on. North Avenue Sidewalk Improvement Project. We anticipate the contractor to start construction after Labor Day. The Yakima Valley Highway Grind and Overlay Project. They will be crack filling Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. They'll be paving Thursday and Friday. Next week, they'll raise utilities September 5th and 6th. Pavement marking should start September 7th and 8th. Then after that, the week after, landscape and restoration, September 11th and 12th. And they should be cleaning up the project September 13th and 14th. 6th Street, just like we were talking before on the railroad. We are still waiting on the railroad for the permit to finish the railroad part of it. We're still waiting for the light poles to show up, waiting for tree grates, and waiting on the sidewalk benches to all show up so we can get those installed. And that's all I have.
Okay.
I wanted to let you know that we are starting our audit very shortly. We spoke with the state auditor's office today, and we are scheduled for our compliance examination, which is usually when we get federal funds, we have a federal single audit based on the amount of money we spend. But because we went over the limit just with ARPA funding, they have a modified audit that we're going to do this year. So it's called a compliance examination. And there's going to be an opening meeting for that on September 20th which is a Wednesday at 10 a.m. And the auditor's office will send invites out to council if they would like to attend. But just so that we avoid any issues with quorum, I thought it might be a good idea to get a little poll of if anyone wants to attend, so we don't accidentally have everybody attend. So I don't know who, if anyone wants to attend this one. This is, like I said, this is just for the federal funds audit. So there's the bigger portion of the audit, which is our accountability audit, will happen later in the fall, which is the more interesting one.
What date?
The 20th, September 20th at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I'm unavailable at that time, so.
I'm available.
I'm checking now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And then while you guys check that, additionally, as they get started on our entire audit process, they do typically like to interview council members to see if you guys have any concerns that you want to talk to the auditor's office about prior to starting their audit period. So at this time, again, it's only related to the federal funds, but if there's anyone who would like to volunteer to be interviewed by the auditor's office, I can pass that information along. And they would schedule that with you on their own.
So I'm happy to attend the meeting, Mr. Mayor. I can make it.
Thank you, sir.
So, and I'll volunteer for an interview if the auditor wants.
Perfect.
And I'm happy to be interviewed if they'd like to, so.
Okay, I will let them know. Thank you so much.
Okay, just some quick stats on the police department. First thing I wanted to bring up, motor vehicle thefts year to date down 44.7%. I attribute that almost solely to the flock cameras. People know they're out there, and we're almost down by half on stolen vehicles. So that's a big change for us. Thank you again, council, for approving that. It's going to be an ongoing expense, so I want to justify it to you. For the last month, 820 incidents, 172 traffic stops, resulting in 60 arrests, 42 non-criminal traffic infractions, 26 criminal traffic, and 74 traffic infractions were issued. So, any questions?
Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
And city clerk, do you have anything to report?
I do that we have the community forum coming up September 7th. We'll be noticing, or it's already noticed as a special meeting. So if you would like to attend council, again, September 7th at 6 p.m. at the community center.
And what day of the week is that?
Thursday, we did it so we wouldn't have any school board meetings in conflict with this one.
All right, invite people to attend. If community members show up and have questions, I'd like for us to be able to be there and answer those questions. All right, thank you, Madam Manager and staff. Appreciate your work. And I have no other business, so there being no further business come up before council, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned at 7:39 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week and enjoy your meeting next week.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council. Have a good evening.
I was reading and I thought we'd be here till 9 o'clock.
You, bye.
Anything in there?
Bye, Jack.
Yes, I am.